Media in general, the content that we're consuming, there is so much anger and frustration, and the jury's out on whether sarcasm is a good or a bad thing. I sort of go back and forth, but I tend to use a lot of sarcasm. And
how do you still be authentic and use AI?
I'm always surprised when people say that they're not using it for content, or they refuse to use it because it's just not human and all this other stuff. And why wouldn't you take advantage of that tool?
Hey everyone, on today's episode of the Everyday Leader podcast, Drew and I sit down with Morgan Snyder. Morgan is a ghostwriter and someone that has worked with a lot of business leaders on their communication and their marketing, especially through X and LinkedIn and their social media presence and platform. So he offers some really unique insights into what makes an effective leader, both in his own experience working and building a business, and then also what he's learned and observed working with a lot of other business leaders. So definitely tune in, and Morgan shares a little bit about what he's learned about curiosity and about humor, how to use humor in an effective way in leadership, and then also speed and responsiveness. So this is a great episode. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to the Everyday Leader podcast. Leadership is a choice. Join me, Matt, and my co-hosts Drew and Tate each episode as we break down how to lead powerfully in your family, team, and organization.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Everyday Leader podcast. Drew and I are excited to have Morgan Snyder on the show with us today. Morgan, welcome. Thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's so much to say about Morgan. And I'm so excited that you are here, seriously, because I think that I hope that we'll get into obviously business stuff and like the world that you work in and provide value in that way. And I also know that Morgan is a really exceptional dad and husband. So I hope we talk a little bit about that today too. It's been a minute since we talked like really focused on like family leadership. So that would be great. So Morgan is a ghostwriter, a content guru specialist, helping business leaders with their communication and presence on X and LinkedIn. And so lots of cool experience working with a lot of cool leaders and helping them get their story out and that kind of thing. So Morgan, we obviously the name of the show, The Everyday Leader, we talk about leadership. We talk about how leadership is a choice and that it actually doesn't have anything to do with your position or title. And so would love to get some of your thoughts initially on leadership. It's one of the most diluted, maybe overused words out there that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What does leadership mean to you?
Yeah. Thanks again for having me here. I appreciate what you said about me being a good dad. I mean, to be determined on that, because my kids are 14 to 3. Like when they become successful human beings and adults, then you can be like, you did it, Morgan. But until then, we'll see. I think leadership to me, as I've been rubbing shoulders with really smart leaders in the tech space, is it's a pretty complex thing. And I think different leaders really emphasize certain traits and qualities. And I see that, like I have people that are in the middle of fundraising. I'm working with people who are established and they're on more of a growth trajectory and they've got revenue and everything. And it is interesting how certain leaders prioritize certain things. Like one founder that I'm working with right now is really about communication, like making everything so crystal clear for everyone. And that's like in their one-on-ones and the emails. In his past life, he was a project manager. So he's definitely got some skills and abilities that lean him more of that. Like as long as I'm communicating, everything is great. I did some work with a brand consultancy, and they've done stuff with all the big companies. And for him, his philosophy on leadership really deals with grace and showing people love and empathy, and that's kind of his cornerstone of leadership. And I've got another tech founder that's all about idea generation and creating new and exciting things that are challenging for people to work on. And he said, as long as his employees and teammates are able to jam on those things, then he's being a good leader. So I think it means a lot of things to to everybody. But you're right on in saying that it is kind of confusing or multidimensional in its definition, because we want to do everything right at all times as a leader. But it's super hard. And I mean, for me, I just try to think of like a couple things either in my family, my business, or other areas where I am a leader. It's like, if I can just do, I don't know, A, B, and C good, then I'm probably better than most, because at least I'm focused and I have something that I'm really, really honed in on.
Yeah.
What would your A, B, and C be, Morgan?
Oh, man, I would say my first thing that I tend to focus on is just being curious, trying to get to the bottom of every problem. And I think that's just due to the nature of my work of interpreting people's thoughts and ideas and putting them out there into the universe on the internet. And so I try to understand as much as I can. And it's great to attend meetings and have interviews and be in these different environments with leaders, because I just get so much exposure to things that I wouldn't otherwise. And so I think being curious. I think the second thing is just finding joy and happiness, and trying to like work in humor into everything that I do, because not only with social media, but I think just media in general, the content that we're consuming, there is so much anger and frustration, and like the headlines are always out there to grab us and get us polarized. And so I try to diffuse a lot of situations with humor, and the jury's out on whether sarcasm is a good or a bad thing. I sort of go back and forth, but I tend to use a lot of sarcasm and just like crack jokes and be funny, at least make attempts to be funny. So curiosity, kind of humor and funny. And I think the other thing too is that I tend to focus on with my leadership is, and it's probably not an adequate word to use, but I just think of the word speed. Like when I'm responding to people, when I'm taking action on something, when someone like if someone's concerned about something, I never leave anyone out to dry. At least I try. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who are like, oh, Morgan really sucks at that. But I try my best to respond as soon as I can, as quickly as I can, with the best information that I can. Not because everything's life or death, but it just shows people that I actually care about them. And it goes way beyond the transactional, like, hey, I'm your content guy, or I'm just one of the vendors of your company and send me the invoice. But like, I genuinely try to respond quickly, because I think it demonstrates that I'm involved. I want to be involved. I know things. And I mean, I kind of go back and forth on this too, in running my business. And I've talked to other agency owners about this, is like, how much do you make yourself available to people? Like at 5 or 6, you're just like, silence my notifications, never talk to me during, 6 and 6, basically. But like, I've had conversations with people like 10 o'clock at night, and, maybe that's not healthy, but I just want them to know that I'm here to help them in whatever way that I can. And I don't think of it as like the way that I run my business. This is just the way that I'm living my life as a human being. Is I'm trying to communicate as much as I can, because it makes a huge difference. That type of mentality versus like, oh, this message has been sitting here for 5 days and I'm just being lazy, or I don't want to take action on this. Is like, okay, that could be ruining the relationship for all I know. So anyway, that's probably way too much information, but I would say those 3 are my big 3.
So curiosity, humor, maybe sarcasm as the alternative for that one.
Yeah.
And, speed. No, I like that. In fact, that's part of what drew me to you, and what has been fun getting to know you, Morgan, is I really love sarcasm and humor. And I feel like I grew up in a family where, like, if there wasn't sarcasm, you weren't loved.
Sure.
So it's like, it's become a love language for me. But no, I love that about you. And yeah, I love the idea of just curiosity and speed. I think those things are great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide which direction to go, because there's so many things you just said that are so good. And yeah, like, what a recipe for just a like effective life that you just threw out? If you can stay curious and you can find joy and not take yourself too seriously and use humor, and then you're responsive. Drew knows I could go on like a 20-minute rant about this for sure. About like responsiveness is huge. Like we talk a lot about responsibility, and let's be responsible. It's another word that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. When you said speed and then you said responsive, I wrote down responsive because it's like, that's cool. Like I want to deal with people who are responsive.
Yeah.
I don't have to love your response. I would just love a response,
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
anyways, so that's so good. If you guys are down, let's talk about sarcasm for a minute, because I do know both of you to be like immensely funny, and I do find great joy in your sarcasm and not offense. And I'm curious, Morgan, do you find areas in your life and leadership where like your gift of sarcasm and words gets misdirected or weaponized in a way that is not super useful?
I would say there's a small percentage of people who meet me and don't appreciate it. Yeah. Because I think the impression is Morgan's just out to crack jokes, or Morgan doesn't take things very seriously. I'm self-aware enough to know that there's probably executives out there who say I'm unprofessional because of either how I talk, joke, or whatever, which I don't agree with necessarily. But I think in the majority of cases, if you're funny and warm to people and you're able to kind of throw your arm around them and joke with them and kind of look them in the eye and understand who they are and see the realness. Cause to me, like comedy writing and being funny is all about seeing the truth and then, surprising them with different, different ways to present information. And so I think it endears a lot of people to me because they go, oh, Morgan gets me. Like that's the whole reason he can make jokes. And that's the whole reason I'm laughing at him, is because he understands me like this. And then we have a real connection. But I'm sure that I'm sure there's cases on the fringe that's like, oh, dude, Morgan's just a jokester. Like he's just not my kind of person because he's unserious. But that's a great question. I mean,
No, it's super good. I remember we actually were talking about this the last time we were together in person about sarcasm, and because I think there is a situation where sarcasm can be very hurtful.
Sure.
And I think that the lesson I'm hearing you say is like use sarcasm to connect, right? Like to create like an environment that's like warm and fun and funny and lighthearted, and not to cut. Like I think use sarcasm to connect, not to like cut, because you can also use sarcasm to just like cut people down and like really jab them. So I love that.
Yeah. I think that the majority of my sarcasm kind of punches at myself. Like I don't tend to use it to like cut others down. I always punch at myself. Like I'm just looking at myself here talking to you, and I'm like, man, if you guys, get a glare off my forehead, I apologize, because it's just, it's got a lot of landing space here. But like there's just so many jokes that I make about myself to get people to be like, okay, he's real. Like he actually doesn't think he's the greatest thought leader in the world. He's just Morgan, and he's trying to get us all to see our imperfections and be okay with them, or whatever I'm cracking a joke about. So I would say that it is some sarcasm, but it's just trying to make people laugh and be funny. Like that's really the goal for me, is to bring levity into conversations and even into like environments where maybe it's not as common, because when you are able to joke about things, it just makes it so much easier for people to communicate and like to really understand each other. So that's like my main mission in doing it.
Yeah, there's a talent to taking a hard situation and getting people to laugh and joke about it, and then open up and so yeah, I've seen that. I love that insight, Morgan. And yeah, for me, it's been, I just have to recognize that not everybody gets it. So that's what's gotten me in trouble before, is when I meet somebody new and I assume they're going to understand my sarcasm and they don't. So I love when I can just start off with sarcasm with someone and they get it. But no, that's great.
So I'm curious, any other, like, kind of on the topic of leadership, and obviously you work with a lot of business leaders, founders, CEOs, stuff like that. Any other themes that you see, either like through the business lens, or just like you probably get a little bit of a glimpse into like their personal world or
Absolutely.
life, or
Yeah.
any other themes or patterns that you notice that stand out to you, like that make an effective leader, or like when you look at the team around them, or get a glimpse of their personal life, like any other themes stand out to you of just like what makes an effective leader?
Yeah. I mean, I think some of my toughest clients that I've ever worked with are just the ones that tell the truth all the time. And there's never like any extra sugar on it. It's always just the truth. And that's kind of hard for me because I don't love. I mean, I can get into these intense conversations and and have tough chats with people, but I tend to like reflect it or deflect it in some way and like make it softer for people. And and I've had a few people that I've worked with where they've like really gotten into me, and if I'm like being honest with myself, some of it was warranted, because of my own weaknesses and the things that I don't do especially well. And but when I kind of take a step back and kind of clear my head of the offense and some of the, oh, why did they say that to me type stuff, I just go, no, they're really trying to teach me. Like they actually want me to be a better person or a better writer or a better whatever it is that they're making a comment about. And to them, they don't hold, like in my mind, because I'm a very emotional, creative person, I think like everybody is saying something with like supercharged emotions, and they're like trying to attack me. And so when I feel someone's attacking me, I immediately want to punch back and say something, or do something that I would consider probably cruel after I said it. But for them, it's just like, this is the truth. Here it is. Change and do it. And then like the next day, they're not thinking. I'm thinking about it for like a year, but they've already stopped thinking about it like in 5 minutes. And so I think that's something that I've tried to get better at over the last 4 years of doing this solopreneurship thing, is when people give me feedback or they're critical about me, there's usually not like some emotional underpinning where they're trying to do damage to me. It's just, this is what I want from you, or this is the kind of work that I want, and it's not I'm trying to cut you down. So
a clarifying question on that, Morgan, because you it seems like that's come up a little bit with the people you've worked with. Do you feel like that ability to just tell the honest truth is a leadership trait, or
yeah,
or was that like, hey, maybe that's a or did you mean something else by that?
No, I think that really is a great leadership trait. And it has kind of pushed me, because I've had like a handful of these leaders where it's like they're in efficiency mode, and their method of communication is say it, move on, like let's get to the next thing, and like whatever. And this even happens in like in calls that I do with clients, and they're just like, hello, let's get to this. And I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. Like, I'm not going to just, we've got to like talk and we've got to do this. So it's not just in giving feedback. It's like making sure that processes, meetings are run well. They like are able to do this with everything. And I think for the most part, that's a very positive thing. That's not necessarily how I would run stuff or do stuff all the time, but they just understand that their time is so valuable. And they also understand that the goal is to get people to change and become something better, like the better version of themselves. And so I've actually really appreciated that as a creative person, to just get to the point, tell the truth, and hopefully improve myself. So
now, I was curious because Matt and I had a conversation a couple months ago about the idea of always telling the truth. And is it
good or
helpful to always tell the truth? So no, I appreciate you sharing some of that.
That's good. So, okay, tell us a little bit about your, obviously, 4 years in now to the solopreneur journey.
Mm-hmm.
Any like reflections on like the impact that's had on your family, maybe like some of the journey of showing up either in a more powerful way or less powerful way for your family at certain times as you transitioned into that. I know that can be a real challenge, right? Like all of a sudden you have a new amount of pressure or a new amount of um, work to do, and the pressure of owning a business. And so what's that been like?
It is much like everyone else who kind of goes into an unknown world or space. It's been really challenging. I was just laughing with Julie, my wife, the other day when I was a Spanish teacher and I had started listening to all these podcasts about advertising and writing books and different things. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I wasn't a very good student in school, but I always thought that maybe I had the chops to make money in writing some way. And she politely told me that I couldn't ever get a job writing or make money writing, and that it was ridiculous for me to think that, and so on and so forth. I won't share all the things she said, but I listened to that, and I kind of tucked it in the back of my head. And then when I transitioned out of teaching and got into startup world, I sort of just held on to that, and through chance, really, did some different marketing projects, and then eventually decided to hack it out on my own. And lo and behold, you can actually make money with writing and just being a writer. There's not tons and tons of people doing that, but I am a witness that it can work because I say that just because when people hear that I'm a writer, they like always have this very confused look, like,
Do you actually like provide for your
are
family?
you okay? Like, are you on food stamps? Like, what sort of help do you need right now in your life? Do you need to see a therapist? But yeah, there have been a lot of bumps and bruises, not very many people believing in me, saying things to me that have not exactly convinced me to do this. But I would say it's been very challenging, and just not having like a really solid business background, or even like entrepreneurs and mentors in my life that have kind of shown me the way to get to this place. It's been hard. That doesn't mean I haven't had lucky breaks or made friends that have helped open a lot of doors for me, but just I mean, I grew up in the suburbs outside of Cleveland in a very blue collar town, and nobody was an entrepreneur. Like there was no startup scene. I mean, it was kind of like, as all of these big startups were kind of coming into existence, and so like even just the thought of being able to make money writing online was so foreign. And so like that's not like you sit down with your career counselor and you say, you know what I'd like to do is write funny things on the internet and people pay me for them. And so it's just been something that has kind of happened in the last few years as I've worked at startups and helped raise money, and done a lot of LinkedIn outreach and having conversations with people. And so I mean, I've got a lot of, when you ask for insights, it's like I've had a lot of like stubbed toes and falling down on cement and hurting myself trying to figure this out. But I would say the one thing that has saved me time and time again is just showing up every day, which is probably true of every person that's running a small business or an entrepreneur. Is just, I will not quit today. I don't know about tomorrow, but I will not quit today. And I'm going to do, I was talking to a friend about this, like when you're writing 50 to 60 posts per week and you're just sitting there, you're like, what is the point of my life? I'm just like this little content gerbil running around in a wheel and spitting out all these content, like posts and stuff. What is the point of my life? Like, what am I doing here? But I think between what keeps me going and motivated is the fact that I'm rubbing shoulders with all these leaders. I'm getting tons of opportunities to write things, write jokes, be funny, and so I'm just so motivated by that whole process of just becoming the writer that I sort of, in a weird way, envisioned 7 or 8 years ago. And now I feel like I'm finally at the place where it's like, oh, dang, I've got a nice group of clients I do work for. By some miracle, we've bought a big enough house for all of our children to live in a nice neighborhood. And so all these things have happened. I don't think it's because of any like genius level operating or business sense or anything. It's just, I will not quit. Like, I'm a cockroach. I'm not going away. You're always going to see me. I'm always going to come crawling back and writing something and creating something that people are going to click on. So, yeah, that's probably what I would say to that. And just add that, like, without that consistency and that desire to show up and write things every day, I don't know what would keep me here, because this is hard.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Thanks for sharing that, Morgan. I don't think anyone on our show has ever described themselves as a cockroach. So that's a first. And two, so many like good little nuggets about consistency. Hey, I don't know about tomorrow, but I'm not giving up today.
I quit.
Right. There's just so many things that can apply to, if to our listener, if you're wondering if it's worth it, it's like, yeah, sometimes you just can't give up today. And it's the work and the effort over time. It's like you said, it's probably not any one little thing that's helped you build the business the way it has. It's been that consistent effort. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's a weird feeling when you tell people you pay for LinkedIn, or you pay for your mortgage with LinkedIn. It's like,
how?
It's a weird thing to say. Like, yeah, I write things on the internet for a couple executives, and just that pays for my mortgage. And it's just such a foreign thing to a lot of people. I mean, my friends, family, they've been hearing about this for years. I don't know if they really understand what it is that I'm doing here, but it's pretty amazing when you just decide. Like, I was doing things for like websites and email sequences, and I'm like, no, I'm just going to do social. And like, as soon as I started to kind of push myself that way and just be known for that one thing, and like I was talking about, just showing up, doing that one thing, there was a lot of cool things that, happened as a result of that. But
yeah, no, that's awesome. I want to ask you a question that's going to probably change the topic of the conversation a little bit. And I'm just curious because of how much you're in the space. I feel like another buzzword out there in entrepreneurship right now is AI.
Yeah.
And the way people are generating content, especially on social media, it's just, even the last year, it's like, wow, how it's changing things. How do you see that affecting what you do? And how do you see maybe even what you're doing becoming more important or beneficial?
I would say for everybody that makes content, it's a huge, huge tool. So important to understand how to prompt correctly and have those conversations with whatever platform you use. I mean, for the work that I'm doing, all the research and finding things about people. I mean, it's amazing what you can do in Gemini. I mean, you go in there and you type out a few bullet points and you ask it to find, and all of a sudden it kicks you back 20 pages of things that a founder or executive has said or done. And then it analyzes the brand and the voice and all the things that they would or would not say. And then you combine that with a transcript or like an interview that I would do. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, I've got 15 to 20 posts right here that I'm just going to go through and work and kind of play around with and like either cut a hook here and add this here and like architect an entire month's worth of content from a single interview. And I think everybody can do that. And they should be doing that. The workflow just gets sped up so much, because I would spend hours sometimes trying to find things on an executive. And then after interviewing them, like, how do I organize all of these notes and what is most important, and like based on their industry and what people in their audience want to know about and understand. But all the research components of that are just sped up incredibly by Gemini, Grok, or whatever tool you're using. And so it just makes me so much faster. And I'm always surprised when people say that they're not using it for content, or they refuse to use it because it's just not human and all this other stuff. And I'm like, man, I mean, I understand that it's not like social may not be a top priority for some people, but in my opinion, I'm very biased. It's like, why wouldn't you take advantage of that tool And if you struggle with generating ideas for yourself, why wouldn't you be doing that? I mean, you just have to spend a couple hours and all of a sudden you have posts for everywhere you go. And you just get like a buffer or something else to schedule them out, post them. So it is just, it's made my life incredibly easier. And every marketing team, every content person should be using that. I mean, it's too good. Like, it's just amazing what it can do.
Yeah, no, I almost wondered if you would be anti AI because
No.
you're making content, but no, that's kind of cool to see how you're embracing it and leveraging that. And I guess maybe kind of back, like, part of what we talk about with leadership is like being an authentic leader. How do you still be authentic and use AI? Because I think that's what I noticed. Like, so there's some posts where I think everybody is using it and are aware of it, and then sometimes it's like you probably didn't write a single thing on this
Right.
entire post. There's too many.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can still be authentic by essentially interviewing yourself or having conversations with people and recording those conversations, as well as using voice notes and other things to just kind of speak your ideas out there, and then just allow AI to organize thoughts, pull insights and main ideas and topics, and then you just spend the time to put it together in the way that you want. And whether it's social, you're writing a speech, you have a pitch deck, whatever it is, it's like, it's just so easy to get original thoughts down there. And if it's assisted by AI in the sense that it's just organizing, you can feel good about it. You can sleep at night knowing that it just saved you a couple hours of work that you didn't have to do. And it's still you.
Right.
It's still your authentic self, because it's basically just taking your essence and creating a structure for it.
Yeah. How about for, like, we kind of wrap up with this. Tell us a little bit about, like, stories. I mean, I
Yeah.
really believe that stories are so huge in history and culture, and like, but even in a more direct and individual way, like, I believe that when we're willing to tell a story, share our story, like, it serves people, it creates a new story, it just like helps people see things. What's your take on stories, and just like educate us a little bit on like storytelling and sharing stories in a public kind of way?
And maybe on the back of that too, it seems like my experience is usually good leaders tell good stories. So yeah,
Sure.
thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge question that we probably don't have all the the necessary time for, but I'll just give you one personal and then one kind of more general thought that I kind of remember going through with an executive recently. So my son is a soccer player, and he plays on a P1 team here in Utah. And he has all the technical ability in the world. He's a relentless worker at home. He does drills with an independent coach outside of his team. I think he can juggle a soccer ball like 4,000 times in a row. He's just a horse. But the thing that really prevents him and is preventing him from going to what would be considered a next level player is just the intensity and the willingness to kind of put his body out there, like jump for those headers, make the extra sprint, so on and so forth. And it's not that he doesn't want to hustle. It's just that he doesn't have that swagger of like, I'm the man, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get out and dominate. And, as a dad, we want to tell them exactly what they have to do in order for, and that has never worked. That is like, we go to the game, he's doing some of the same stuff. I'm like, bro, what's happening out there? I don't know. I don't know idea what, like, I can't remember, blah, blah. So it's just all the lame excuses. Right. And we, all of us are guilty as well. It's not just like a 14-year-old thing. It's everybody is doing that all the time. So we were driving home, and I told him a story and I'm not a soccer player. I had to learn soccer with Nolan because, when my family, wrestling and football are the only sports that you play. So, and anyway, I'm giving him a story about some family stuff and how we used to wrestle around as cousins, and my dad has 4 brothers, and all of those brothers had sons, and we'd be at the pond wrestling each other and trying to drown each other in the pond and stuff. And I was just telling him about how, like, as a kid growing up, we always had to compete. Like every single time we'd go there, we're in the shallow end, and everyone's trying to like toss each other around and tackle each other and so on and so forth. And I just had to be on, because if I wasn't on, I was always getting dunked, and then they would, they would make fun of me and so on and so forth. And so I always kind of grew up in this ultra competitive environment with my cousins. And there just came a point where I was like, I have got to dominate. And I was like, I just have to have the mentality, as stupid as this sounds, of beating my cousins and even taking down my uncles and stuff. It's like, I'm going to beat everybody. And so I go on and I tell this story to Nolan. And the interesting thing we saw some improvement in the games, but what was interesting is he kept coming back to me and saying like, hey, I remember that one thing that you said in your pond wrestling story that you were telling me, and I was thinking about this. And then some time went by, and then he's like, I was thinking about your pond story when you said this. And so it's like that made much more of an impact with him than me like giving him specific notes on what to do. It was almost like he envisioned himself there as me wrestling with other Snyder bros and cousins and uncles and stuff. And he's like, I can do that. And I also tell him too, I'm like, when we wrestle around at home, you like try to kick my butt. Like when we're wrestling and stuff, you're trying to grab me and like rip into me sometime. Like, why doesn't that come out on the soccer field? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I guess I should just pretend that I'm facing you out there in the soccer game. And I'm like, well, no, not necessarily. That's kind of weird. But anyway, I think that's, to your question of like the importance of stories, is like those things are highly emotional, and we can't help ourselves but put our unique situation into the story and think about, like, our brains just can't help itself but think about how we would react, how we would talk, how we would learn from that scenario. And I think that's really why, whether it's parenting, business, or otherwise, the stories really matter. The stories you tell really matter. The words you use really matter, because they'll stick longer. Now, I don't know if Nolan, when he leaves the house, will still be able to really talk about how impactful the wrestling story was on his soccer career or anything else. But at least in whatever time frame it is, like, he knows he needs to go out and be intense and show that intensity for himself, for his team. And it really impacts the way that he leads on the field as well. Because that if he has that swagger, he's communicating more with his team. He's calling for the ball more. He's doing all of the intangible things to be that leader on the field as well. And so I think it's true for Nolan, my son, but also for leaders on the internet as well. It's like anyone can write about how to 10x your marketing, blah, blah, blah. Like all that information is just Googleable, or, now you can plug it into Chat BLT and it'll pump something out for you. But the stories, like the things that are so profoundly emotional to you or to your own situation, no one else can tell those stories. And when you do that, and when you are vulnerable, people will remember you. And I think that's, like, in my world of B2B tech, top of mind is everything. And I'm sure it's equally important in other spaces, but I always think about that stories will get people to remember you when it matters most, when they are making that decision. Because they'll be like, oh man, Morgan wrote about how, and this happened with a client from a couple of years ago. It's like Morgan wrote about this funny idea that he had to put bars over the bread box, and his kids would have to insert coins like an AT or like a vending machine in order to get bread, because they're just eating so much bread. And he just thought this humorous, I photoshopped like a really bad bread box with like bars and an ATM coin machine and stuff. And he's like, I can totally relate to that. And you get me, like, we should work together on something. And it wasn't because he knew I was the greatest marketer or anything. It's just because I wrote a story that he related to and thought it was funny. And now, he's willing to pay me for what I'm good at. So just a couple of random thoughts. I don't know if that kind of answers the question or not, but
yeah, for sure. No, it's amazing, right? Like, stories are so powerful. So that's great insight on like why we tell stories and how to tell them. It's awesome.
Yeah. And as you said that, I had a flood of memories of like all these good stories people have shared with me and the things
Yeah.
I've learned. It's a good reminder. I think sometimes we're just too quick to point out sometimes to people, oh, just do ABC. And that's
Yeah.
not always very memorable.
Yeah, I was thinking through things that I want to say to my kids tonight in a way that's telling a story, not in the way I am inclined to typically do, which I can assure you they don't listen to and don't intend to listen to and don't want to listen to. So I love this reminder to just like share if you want to convey a lesson, like share it through a story. Like it's connection. It helps people see, like you said, like they can put themselves in the story. I think that's one of the most powerful parts, and great reminder.
Yeah. I mean, I catch myself all the time with my own kids just saying like, what have I told you? Like anytime you hear yourself saying that,
had this conversation,
it's like that's like your signal that whatever you're about to say is not going to stick. Like that's when you know, like they're just going to ignore it. But the better thing is like to get down on their level, look them in the eye, hug them, whatever, tell them something, give them some sort of anecdote that they're going to actually keep in their little heads. And so it's hard to do it. It's hard to parent that way. It's hard to lead that way too, to like spend the time with that person instead of like sending them a bulleted email. And they're like, oh gosh, this guy drives me nuts with all of his requests and stuff. But if you're on the phone with them or in person, whatever, like just tell them something they can hold on to and relate to.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, well, Morgan, what's the best way for people to find you and receive the great benefit of your humor and your writing skills?
Yeah, I mean, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm camping out there managing my account and the other client accounts that I run with. So I'm always there to bounce off ideas and give people my 2 cents on all things marketing and communications. And then if you ever want to find out more, my website's thoughtleadertoday.com, and you can see some examples of how we help leaders win on the internet with social media content. So
yeah, it's awesome. Go give them a follow. Seriously, just as a plug, like I think I have laughed literally out loud on LinkedIn more reading your posts than any other single person I can think of. Where
nice.
Like I get to sometimes like halfway through I'll start laughing, and by the end I'm just like, okay, this is so funny.
Well, and especially LinkedIn is sometimes overly professional. Not that you're
a little dry.
Professional, Morgan. It's like it's just refreshing. The content you create.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, because sometimes I do feel like the level at which I post things, meaning like the tone of it, and I'm going, oh man, so and so is gonna think I'm an idiot, or like I just kind of like, I clearly I go and I publish whatever I think, and I don't have a problem doing that, but as I'm writing it, I like have all those doubts come in my head, and I'm like, oh, maybe not, maybe I shouldn't, but then I just do it anyway. So
that's awesome.
There's a lesson in that too.
I'm literally sitting here thinking of like some of the funniest ones that I still remember, right? Because you told the story. I still am convinced that some of them were not 100% real. I think you made them up, and which is fine. And you probably will never admit it. And it's just cool how like I can still remember those things. I mean, I read a lot of things and don't remember them. So
yeah, well, I do also wonder, my other doubt is like, is it just so crazy or so satirical, or whatever you want to call them, that people are like, no matter what happens, I'm never ever going to work with this guy because he's just such a nut job. So I don't know. There's always that line that I think of like, I shouldn't probably push it, but I'm going to try.
Yeah, no, I think you're good. And look, like the authenticity piece is huge. So, okay, well, this has been awesome. To our listener, go make the choice to be curious, find joy and through humor and not taking yourself so seriously. Choose to be responsive, choose to be authentic and tell the truth. And then where we kind of ended, right? Like, don't be afraid to share your stories. They matter, they connect you with people, and they serve people who hear them. So Morgan, it's been awesome. Thanks so much for
Matt,
being
Drew,
on.
thanks. Appreciate it.
Hey, well, to our listener, as we like to say, today's the day.
Thanks for joining us on the Everyday Leader podcast. If you're ready to take your leadership journey even further, subscribe to our weekly newsletter for more insights and practical tips. And don't forget to connect with us on Instagram to stay a part of our growing community. Just follow the links in the show notes. If this episode impacted you, please help us spread the word and share the link with a friend from wherever you're listening.